there's this kind of nostalgia cycle maybe coming back.
You guys are going on a tour, the Bigger Than You Think tour. You're celebrating the 25th anniversary, and it's across the United States. Now, talking about bands that you're bringing with you, you have Bowling for Soup and you have 303.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about 303 in years, brother. The fact that you have them coming with you is pretty cool, man.
They had kids recently, so they wanted to stay home. So I think and then there was the pandemic and all that. So I think that makes it even more awesome because then people can finally see them again. And they are a fun band. We did Warp Tour 2018 with them, like the whole trek, like 2 months and a half. We became really close. They're just funny guys and so chill and really, really good people. So that's great. Bowling for Soup, we go way back. They took us on a UK tour and a Texas tour in 2002 or three, so a long time ago. And again, the nicest dudes, good people, funny. So yeah, they've been around. And it's kind of like 303, Bowling for Soup, and Simple Plan. Like there's a little bit of something in common. Like we've never been like the coolest, like the most edgy band in the world. Like we have a little bit of like some people can say, oh, it's like a guilty pleasure kind of thing. So we say, you know what, let's put it all together and let's go on the road and put on a great show. And like when you look at the tour trailer that we've made for the tour. Like we've had all these songs back to back, and you're like, oh my god, it's like an emo night. Like like every single jam. There's so many songs that you can sing along, and it's gonna be a fun night. And then we got Lolo as well that's opening up. She's from around Toronto. She's Canadian. She's awesome, really cool. It was really important that okay, like we have Bowling for Soup, 303. That's kind of the same Simple Plan, same era, but we wanted to have like a younger and female musician to be on the tour because I think that's important. Like I think pop punk in general hasn't been the most welcoming for female artists. There's just not a lot of them on tour with pop punk bands, and we want to actively make sure that we change that we use wherever we're at in our career to try to use our platform to have people discover new artists and new female artists. So Lolo's part of that. She's rad, and we know her and pretty well, and she's been so kind and amazing, and she's blowing up right now. So it's gonna be a fun tour.
Sometimes when artists they come on stage, they're not usually thinking about trying to bring the next generation up with them. It's something that's not seen all the time. But the fact that you guys are the legends that's still doing it, man, shout out to y'all, man.
Well, I think it's part of the tradition of the punk rock and sort of pop punk scene is to try to help out the younger artists. Like we got a lot of help when we started out. Mark from Blink sang on our first album. We had literally nothing going on, right? Like I mean, we were complete unknown band, like unsigned, and he agreed to sing on Not Do Anything. He was in the music video, so it changed the whole course, the whole trajectory of our career was because this. I mean, on top, the biggest band in the world at the time, Blink 182 in 2001 or 2001, they were the biggest band in the world. And they helped us out because that's what you do as a musician. When you've made it, you gotta try to give back to the scene. And I think that was really eye-opening for us, and it really showed that okay, this is what you do when you're a band, and when you achieve a certain level of success, you should return the favor. You should help out younger artists. And I'm not saying that Lolo needs our help, but I think it's just part of what you do. Like you try to bring people with you. And yeah, so it's been really fun. Like we've had a lot of really cool artists that like did support slots on our tour. Like I can think back in 2004 or five, I think we had Paramore open up for. It was the first tour they ever did ever. Literally, like our label called us and they're like, "Hey, we have this young artist, this young band. Like they've never toured before. Would you mind taking them on tour? It'd be a huge favor for us." I'm like, okay, of course, we'll do it. And then we got to see Paramore before I think most of the people in the whole world, and they were amazing. They were so cool. You could see how much talent they had, how much potential they had. I think Plain White Tees was on the tour as well, right before Delilah blew up. So that was like, just an example of like, it's just really cool to be able to do that. Now, I'm not trying to take credit for what happened. They were going to be big anyways. But I think it's really cool that you get to as a fan of music, you get to see an artist before they take off, and I think that's a cool privilege.
You got to see Paramore before Steph Curry, bro. Like that's crazy. Pop has obviously been going crazy for however many years, and now like K-pop starting to creep into the scene like internationally. But pop punk is starting to make a comeback. Do you believe so in 2025?
Yeah, I think it's been really amazing to see like the resurgence of this style of music. A lot of people said it was kind of like dead. And what's funny is when we first came out, we were our first band, like, well, not our first band, but our first demos, and was around like 1999, 2000 when we formed. And I remember people were like, you better hurry up because this pop punk thing is about to be dead. It's about to be finished. Like, hurry, put out the album. And we were like, no, no way, man. Like, this is going to keep going. And sure enough, we came out in 2002, and then Fall Out Boy came out, like, I think 2005 or six. So but then there was a moment where, it got a little bit less mainstream for whatever reason, like around the 2010s, like it became a bit more like there was still some hardcore fans that were following it. And there was still a great, lots of people that were into it, but it just wasn't as present in pop culture. But now you're seeing it's 20 years later, there's this kind of nostalgia cycle maybe coming back. And then you're seeing this music kind of just becoming mainstream again. And I think it's part of maybe MGK was part of that when he came out with that pop punk record and kind of made people pay attention again. And then during the pandemic, there was a lot of things that happened that made pop punk like, more present. But it's just exciting as a band to have been around for 20 years plus, and then you're playing the biggest shows of your lives and you're feeling like, holy shit, like not only are we still relevant, but we're probably bigger than we've ever been. And there's more people. And now it's the fans that were there always that are sticking with you, that have always stuck with you. There's the people that maybe like the band but went away for a minute, kind of forgot about it, and then they see like a video on their TikTok, for you page, or on their Instagram feed, and like, oh my God, you guys are still around. And then they re-engage with the band. And then you got the fans that are having kids, and the kids get into the music, and they're like, we have all these 7, 8, 9, 10 years old kids that are like loving the band. And you get like these teenagers that were not around back then, or they're 20 years old, and they're like, oh man, like this is my favorite era. And because of Spotify and Apple Music and all that, they can become a fan in one day. Like they can, like, there's no barrier, right? Is that you don't have to go to a store, find the album. It's all right there. So if you're curious, if you discover one band, you can go down like this whole kind of family trees of like other bands, and you can become a fan of the style. And like in a week you can know all these bands and have access to all this music. So it's been really fun to see. It's been really exciting for us because that's the goal, right? You can still play to new people, you can still make new fans, and you still carry and keep your old ones. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Which newer bands or upcoming artists would you be able to put us on? Like maybe one, two, three bands that you think are really
Sure.
leading the resurgence.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of great new bands that are coming up, and one band that I really like that we took on tour when we did our Sum 41 Simple Plan US tour was this band called Magnolia Park. And so they're kind of brand new, and well, maybe less brand new now, but they've been around for 3, 4 years or something, and they're making a lot of noise, and people are paying attention. And what I think is really special about them is that a lot of pop punk, it's like white dudes, that kind of all look the same. And what I love about them is that it's completely different. They're all like, they're so diverse, and they have all these different cultures in the band. That's cool. Again, it's the same thing. Like, it's great that our scene opens up to diversity, and it's not just the same person, just like a different replica of the same person, same perspective. It's really cool to have female artists, to have like black artists coming in and doing this kind of music. I think that's important for the vitality of our scene. So that's a really good one to check out, Magnolia Park. Trying to think of who else. I like this girl, Taylor Acorn. I think she's badass. She's really cool. She might have done the festival last year, or she's doing it this year, but I know that She's on people's radar. She's cool. We actually met her a bunch of times. She's awesome. That's the coolest thing about pop punk and the scene is that, you know, maybe some of these bands were inspired by the Blink and Green Day and you know, like Simple Plan, Sum 41, whatever. But now when they put out their stuff, they put their own spin on it. They put their own version of pop punk. And then the older bands, we check it out and we're like, oh wow, I would have never thought of doing that. That's so interesting. And then we get influenced by the newer artists because it makes you change your perspective and it makes you like, you know, kind of realize, oh, you don't have to always do it a certain way. You can completely do it differently. So that's what's great about the scene is that you got this kind of feedback between all the bands. Like they're inspired by the older bands and the older bands discover them. They're inspired by the newer bands. So it becomes this cool hybrid. Oh, and there's one more band that I really like. They're called the Paradox. They just formed last summer. Brand new band. And they played covers and I think they put them up on TikTok, and some of them blew up to like millions of views. They did like a Scooby Doo cover. That's how they got on my radar. They did like a Scooby Doo cover, which is the theme song that we play. And that thing just exploded. Like it did millions and millions of views. So we invited them to our show in Atlanta, where they're from. And again, that's another band that's super diverse. It's like they love Blink and Simple Plan and Green Day, and they love like Sum 41, and it's like and it's so cool. It shows how the music has reached so many people, and they bring their own twist to it, and it's awesome. I think they're gonna blow up, and I really hope we can take them on tour soon.